This is such an inflection point, as Tyler laid out for us, just given what we've seen with the bull market this year. And a lot of the FAs in our audience are looking for ways to essentially generate alpha above and beyond what's going on in the broader market environment. And you have a unique window into that because you have regulatory expertise as well as venture capital expertise. So I want to just kick things off with kind of what your viewpoint tells you now that we're kind of through the election and we have a better sense of who's going to be regulating various industries, what that means for 2025 in some of the buzziest areas of the economy.
Yeah, I think there's a really good confluence coming between the continuing cuts in interest rates, and hopefully we'll see one more next week, combined with regulators that I think are more market-friendly, more business-friendly, more tech-friendly. Even though, for example, if you take the FTC as something that might have been a barrier over the last few years to M&A activity, while some of the tougher on big tech policies might continue, overall, I think we'll just see a friendlier climate towards M&A activity. We'll see a friendlier climate towards new technology in fintech, in healthcare tech, in energy. And so I think that the various factors are coming together well, and especially in my world of venture capital, which has actually not been all that vibrant the last few years, it does feel like things are starting to turn around. Is
your expectation, and as you assess the landscape for potential investment opportunities, such that we've seen so much capital put to work in AI this year that there's going to be some sort of a breather next year? Or do you think that the momentum begets momentum and, regulation, regardless of what we see on that front, people will continue to just build this arms race in this area?
Yeah, I think the excitement will continue no matter what. I think that the companies that are in this are so heavily invested that they have to keep investing heavily no matter what. At the same time, at some point, the rubber does have to meet the road, right? AI is still a world right now of unfulfilled potential. It's a lot of talk about what it could be and the way that it changes the way that we create new drugs or the way that we teach children or discover minerals or anything else. But at some point, it has to go from a cool search engine and some really exciting potential ideas to actual revenue or actual savings. And I think that this is the year where that has to start being shown. You can't forever just keep investing in something based on its one potential one day. At some point, the unit economics have to work too.
What about crypto? I know that's another area that you have some regulatory predictions for 2025. Sure. We just saw Bitcoin, of course, hit that $100,000 threshold. Yep. Do you think the regulation there is going to be a net positive for the asset class?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it really couldn't have been much worse over the last 4 years. Gary Gensler, I think you and I have talked about this before on the air, actually. Gary Gensler, who's the chair of the SEC, has been virulently anti-crypto, and not just in sort of not believing in the underlying ideas, but even really to provide any answers in terms of guidance of, is this legal or illegal, right? You're supposed to at least have basic rule of law, and he hasn't even done that. And so I do think that whoever we're going to see at the new SEC, CFTC, Treasury, all of the various agencies are going to be a lot friendlier to crypto and just a lot more reasonable. And that doesn't mean that every regulation that happens is something that the crypto world likes. But I think as long as people can understand it and they're willing to talk to them and explain how they're thinking, that alone would be a huge improvement.
In terms of transactions, you mentioned the FTC being a bit more of a question mark. What's your expectation for M&A as well as IPOs in particular? Because we've seen such a frost come over the IPO market over the last few years, and everybody's waiting for that to turn around. I don't think it's necessarily a regulatory issue, but what do you think gets the market more comfortable, gets issuers more comfortable to actually take that step?
Right. It's a great question because it's sort of a psychological issue that then gets sort of by proxy wrapped up in things like regulation or interest rates or whatever else. And yet a lot of ways it's just really the mindset of investors. Look, I do think that you're going to see overall an FTC that is warmer and more friendly towards M&A, and IPOs I think will flow more as a result. With that said, I do think you're going to see an FTC and a DOJ that continues a lot of the Biden era policies in terms of prosecuting really big tech. So a lot of the antitrust cases brought against Meta and Google and Amazon will continue. I think in many ways the left and the right kind of meet on some of those issues. And so the real challenge for the Trump administration is going to be, if they want to continue to regulate big tech because they believe that's necessary for both consumer protection and early stage innovation, that's really good and I would say really important to do. But how do you do that without inadvertently creating the wrong chilling effect that then has a negative impact on IPOs and M&A across the board? I think the Biden administration has really struggled to figure out how to do that, and so that's the challenge they have ahead.